You're tuning into Black and White Sports on YouTube. The no-holds-barred truth on sports. The main event starts now.
I am back. Rodrance for Black and White Sports 2. If you're new to the channel, hit subscribe, like, comment. As always, make sure you check us out on podcasts. We're available wherever you get your podcasting from. Going to talk about two people, well, actually three people, Tom Brady, Jimmy Garoppolo, and Troy Aikman. When Troy Aikman is not promoting his non-woke 8 beer, he's talking about things that are football related. We know two things about Troy. He's an NFL Hall of Fame quarterback that happens to work for ESPN. He's part of the media now as an NFL analyst in a booth alongside Joe Buck, Monday Night Football. And that's the kind of role that Fox Sports is expecting Tom Brady in. Eventually. And I bring up eventually because, as we know, in the past, a couple of things have happened. He flirted very heavily for playing for the Miami Dolphins. He flirted very heavily and had a deal in place until John Gruden axed it to play for the Las Vegas Raiders. Mark Davis wanted Tom Brady there badly. And we know the other thing that's happening out there is Jimmy Garoppolo. And look, we've talked about how it's not unusual to have injury waivers and this and that and the other in these contracts, and it's not. But at the same time, if you take a step back from the Garoppolo situation and look at the Raiders situation, holy shit, if he's hurt, what do they do at quarterback? I mean, what do they do? Immediately, because Tom Brady's been talking about becoming a minority owner, and that may have already gone through. And if he's already done the minority owner thing, and that is signed, sealed, delivered, then Tom Brady will not play football anymore. Okay, he will be completely done. And I tend to lean towards the fact that he's probably done. Lean. But when I say lean, I'm talking about 55-45 kind of lean. It's not some runaway, all right? It's not 80-20 retired kind of deal. Until we find out that the minority ownership of the Raiders has absolutely gone through, because once it goes through, NFL owners will not vote to allow Brady to play, okay, because their team will have to play him, although he would be good for business in the NFL, and owners do tend to know that. Now, as you can imagine, something Troy Aikman gets asked about is whether or not Tom Brady might come back, and he just came right out and said that he's not completely sold on the fact that Brady is done. ESPN's Troy Aikman is just the latest to dip his feet into the pool and say that Tom Brady could be back on the field. Awful announcing. Sometimes it feels like Brady could host somewhere live on television on an NFL Sunday from his couch at his house, and people would say, hey, maybe he could play again. After a while, it starts to feel like the cycle never concludes. But once again, someone has alluded to thinking that the legendary quarterback could return to the NFL after his retirement this offseason. I still think the Dolphins make the most sense. Aikman talked to TMZ Sports and said that he, quote, wouldn't rule anything out on Brady returning to the NFL. The 3-time Super Bowl champion quarterback believes the Raiders would be who the 7-time Super Bowl champion would play for. Okay, so he just coming right now saying it, that it would be the Raiders if it happens. Brady recently acquired a minority ownership stake in the team. Okay, until we find out that's absolutely gone through and it's a done deal, because once it's a done deal, it's a wrap. Quote, I don't want to speak for Tom, but I wouldn't rule anything out, he said. Aikman continued, I would bet that just nothing is off the table as far as what may occur during the season or what Tom's role may be. I think he's done playing, but you just never know, he told TMZ. Now, one thing that happened last week that caught fire was Davante Adams being critical of the quarterback situation with the Raiders. And now that the Garoppolo thing has come out, and some believe what happened there was Davante Adams sauntered out onto the field for OTAs and saw possibly Brian Hoyer tossing a football around. And Davante Adams said, "Oh, wait a minute, what are we doing at quarterback?" And then somebody got in his ear that Jimmy Garoppolo has a foot injury and had a foot injury when he got signed. And maybe now that provides a lot more context as to why Davante Adams wasn't happy. And honestly, who could blame him? Because, look, again, unless Tom chooses to hold out and not do the minority ownership thing, or maybe even nobody's talking about this, he could just relinquish the minority ownership stake if he's already got it. I hadn't thought about that, but I guess he could, right? Then Davante Adams is talking about the fact that I'm sure he walked into a situation where he's like, as a football team, what is it that my team has done exactly here? I mean, we thought it was a knock on Jimmy Garoppolo's possible, playing prowess. When, no, it may be the fact that he was knocking the fact that Garoppolo wasn't going to be available to throw him the ball. Saturday night's stunning news about the impact of Raiders quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo's lingering foot injury on his contract presents good news and bad news for the team. The good news is the Raiders are protected to the point that they might not never have to pay him a cent if the foot injury prevents him from playing. The bad news is if Garoppolo can't play quarterback for the Raiders, who will? ? The absence of a clear and obvious plan B, Brian Hoyer is the current veteran backup. Aiden O'Connell was selected in the draft. Given the tenuous status of Plan A, it puts the recent comments from Davante Adams into a different light. Quote, the front office, they think this is the best bet for us right now to put us in a position to be urgent. Adams told The Ringer, we don't see eye to eye on what we think is best for us right now. I'm going to have to buy into this and try to be as optimistic as possible. It's not what I expected, but it's something that is a reality now. This really is quite the reality for the Raiders. The concerns regarding the foot sufficiently freaked the team out to get them to strip the deal of the $11.25 million signing bonus and move it over to a base salary. And while it's great to have financial protections, it's hard to say the Raiders have any football protections. And that's where we'll just lay off, but now you get the point. It's very possible that Davante Adams just sauntered out onto the OTA field and was like, wait, where's Jimmy? Wait a minute, what do you mean we signed Jimmy and he had a foot injury and he's going to have surgery? We don't have any other quarterbacks? We let Jarrett Stidham go? And I'm going to tell you, that's the glaring one of all of this. Maybe Stidham wanted out because it was Sean Payton. Some have said that Josh McDaniels let him walk. And if that's the case, and maybe he thought, you know what, I'm not that much worse than Jimmy Garoppolo. Why the hell am I going to back him up? Or he could have been like, he's Jimmy's glass and he gets broke all the time and I'm going to get on the field. But you get my point. Davante Adams is like, right now we don't really have a viable starter if Jimmy's out. And that's the quarterback mess. I mean, because I thought it was odd, I was like, you know what? A lot of players on the 49ers had a lot of success with Jimmy throwing them the ball. But, it's him staying on the field that has always been an issue. It was the issue with the Niners. And that's how they justified that horrible pick for Trey Lance. I don't know. This is crazy. I mean, you got Troy Aikman saying he can't come out and say he doesn't know whether or not Tom would really be done. Could unretire and play. We don't know whether or not Tom's turned in the minority ownership stake as of yet? If he has, can he relinquish it? It's the only way to get around the owners. And is he the most viable option? Here's your other options, Raiders. Matt Ryan, yikes. Carson Wentz, yikes. Teddy Bridgewater. Somehow I could see Teddy Bridgewater being there in that offense, but he's not going to throw the ball further than about 12 yards down the field. So, Davante Adams. I hope we're working on a lot of screens and in the rounds. Yikes. So, a lot of people came down on Davante Adams for those comments, but they do make a little more sense now. Like, what have you done from a personnel standpoint here? Not only that, but you let Derek Carr go. I'm still not sold, by the way, that was the right thing to do. I do think Jimmy makes more sense from a scheme standpoint, because I've always thought Jimmy was better in the Patriots offense than he was in Kyle Shanahan's offense, and obviously knows the system. Derek Carr, even though he played there a year, didn't know the system inside and out. But, boy, you sign Garoppolo knowing he's got an injury. That's the craziest thing of all of this. And who exactly caused Garoppolo to not get the foot surgery? Was it the Niners? Or was it Garoppolo? Or did Garoppolo just say, look, nobody likes to have surgery. I want to see if it'll heal on its own. If he did, okay, fair enough, I guess. Wow. Yeah, in all of this, if you put Brady aside and the fact that, let's just say he's not an option, and I think there's at least a 50-50 shot he's not an option, who the hell's playing quarterback for the Raiders? What a mess. It could be a disastrous mess. And look at the fallout from this. Josh McDaniels and Ziegler go 4-13, and they're gone. Maybe. Rinse, repeat for the Raiders. Peace. I'm out. Till next time.
Thanks for watching the show. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to tune in next time on Black and White Sports.